What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be doing another map guide for you guys, this time on Kamino, which is one of my absolute favourite maps in the game, and I know a lot of Clone Wars fans enjoy this map as well, so let's get stuck straight into it. Just like the rest of the videos in this series, each map is split into two videos, one for the attacking side and one for the defending side. Today we're going to be covering the attacking side of the map, which in this case is the droid army. So getting straight into the first phase, as the droids you'll spawn outside of the cloning facility, and your first objective is to enter the archives and slice the clone DNA banks. This is a single objective, and the whole first phase is pretty much played within this room that you can see on screen now, so this can get really hectic in here a lot of the time. Now, due to the size of this room, I can't stress enough how important it is to use a close quarters weapon on this first phase. My recommendation would be either the assault class with the CR2 equipped, the officer class with the SE44C equipped, or the heavy class with whichever blaster you prefer. The heavy class is really useful for the extra explosives, so if you do choose to go with the heavy, then make sure to equip your barrage star card to get some extra explosives on your side. The main tip I have for the first attack on this room is to make sure you're not being too aggressive. The clones spawn a lot closer to this objective, so most of the time they're already going to be set up and ready for you when you get here. Slow down, clear a pathway into the room, and then once you're in, you can start to be a little bit more aggressive. You can see here that I'm pretty much just sitting right on the objective and just protecting it from each side of this pillar, while the rest of my teammates are pushing a little bit more to keep the clones back in their spawn. If none of your teammates are taking the objective, but you can see that the room is cleared, then take it on yourself to take the objective and earn some easy battle points. You can see here that even though I'm taking the objective, I'm still making sure to check each side of the pillar and make sure no one is going to come and attack me. If someone does come close, then don't be scared to jump off, take them out, and then head back and take the rest of the objective. Once you do manage to take it, the first phase is over and it's time to move on to the next phase of the map. This phase actually takes place outside, and honestly this would have to be one of the best looking areas of any map in the game. That could just be the Clone Wars fanboy coming out of me, but I think we can all agree that this phase of the map looks absolutely awesome. So heading into the bird's eye view of the map here, this area in blue is where you and your team will be spawning, while the area marked in red here is the building where the clones will spawn. And you can see that it's not very far apart, so that means there's always going to be heaps of action on this phase. Now, these two areas marked in green are the objectives that you'll need to take to progress to the next phase, and both of these need to be captured like flags, similar to conquest or domination modes in games like Battlefield and Call of Duty. This phase involves a lot more mid to long range combat, so I'd have to recommend either an officer or assault class, or even a specialist class if you are more comfortable with that. I generally try and head for the east landing pad first, which is the one that's closer to the spawn. And rather than going straight up the main stairs here, I usually try and circle around the back to catch the clones by surprise, and this makes it a whole lot easier for my teammates to advance to the objective as well. You can see that even though no one knows I'm here, I'm not trying to be too aggressive and take them all out on my own. If even one of them realises you're behind them, then it can turn really ugly really quickly, so I generally try and play a little bit slower and make sure that I survive rather than trying to get a whole bunch of kills. Now, once you and your team manage to get a little bit of control over this area, you have the choice to either stay and protect it or try to sneak your way over to the west landing pad and start taking control of that objective. I'll usually stay until the objective is around 60% taken, and then I'll usually make my way over to the other side of the map. Now, these areas marked in red here are the main choke points on the map, and most of the time you're going to have a hard time getting across these areas. If you can't push across any of these catwalks, then I'm going to show you the best flanking routes to get to the other side. If you've just spawned, then this dotted line here is your best bet to reach the other side without being noticed, or if you have already taken the east landing pad, then this other dotted line here is your other option to try and flank the enemy and take control of the west landing pad. This landing pad is a little harder to take than the east landing pad, but the same principles apply. Try and sneak your way around the back and surprise your enemy. Even if you can take one or two enemies out, then it's going to go a long way towards helping your team get the win. This phase is probably the hardest one for this map, so if you can manage to get your team past this phase, then you're looking really good to get the win. In the third phase, you'll be heading back inside the cloning facility, and there'll be another two objectives similar to the last phase. One objective is placed inside this hangar here, and this one is probably the easier of the two to take, seeing as it's a lot more open and there are plenty of entryways into the hangar. The other objective is in through the hallways, and for any Clone Wars fans out there, this room might look really familiar, and that's because it's actually the barracks that we often see in the animated series. For this phase, I'll usually head into the hangar first to try and take control of that. Like I said, it does seem to be a little bit easier, so I usually try and get that one out of the way a bit earlier. If you have a bunch of teammates helping you out, then it can be taken really quickly, but if you're in there by yourself, then you're most likely going to struggle to take it. The enemy has a high ground advantage on the balcony above the doorway, so unless you're well hidden, then you're going to struggle to do it alone. As for the barracks, this is a really close quarters area, so again I'd have to recommend either your heavy or officer class, and all you really need to be doing in here is just making sure that you don't leave the room until it's under control. Now usually if your teammates know what they're doing, then you can completely spawn trap the enemies on this phase, so most of the time once you're set up, then it's going to be pretty hard to lose the objective. Most enemies are going to be coming from this left doorway over here, so I usually try and hang around this area and try and pick off any enemies that are trying to make their way into the barracks. It might seem a little bit campy, but in such a close quarters area like this, then there's not really much else you can do about it if you do want to stay alive and help take the objective. Once you've managed to take both objectives, then you're onto the final phase of the map, and this phase is honestly just a huge clusterfuck of players. You can see here that there are 2 hallways, and regardless of which one you take, you'll end up in this final room where you'll need to shut down the fusion core by planting an explosive on it. You can see how tight the hallways are, so it's going to take a lot of work to push the enemy back into this last room. Now, just like the first phase, I've got to recommend using your heavy class with the barrage star card equipped, and you pretty much just want to flood these hallways with explosives and hope that you can clear out the enemy. You're going to have a hard time clearing the hallways, so a good idea is to launch a few explosives and then try and pick off the enemy while they're running away. Using this method is bound to get you plenty of kills, and if that's the case, then you and your teammates can push in and take control of the hallways. So by this point you might have enough battle points to unlock a hero, and in this phase I'd have to recommend giving Iden Versio a try. She's not all that great on most other maps, but in this phase her alternate fire on the TL50 gives her a massive advantage, and you're pretty much guaranteed to go on a kill streak as long as you play it safely. Holding down L2 causes her to shoot an iron grenade from her weapon, and the splash damage means you only need to land it somewhere close to the enemy to get a kill. This is so helpful for the hallways, and I've personally had a few games where I'll get 20 to 30 kills in just 2 or 3 minutes using this method. You can see in this footage that I'm not even doing anything special, and I'm still managing to pretty much clear the hallways by myself. Once you've pushed into the final room, then all that needs to be done is to shut down the fusion core and the game is yours. If you've managed to break into this room, then it's fair to say that the game is all but over, so just defend the enemies coming from their spawns and you'll take home the W. So that's going to be it for our attacking guide for Kamino, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the cinematics and the bird's eye view footage. If you did, then make sure to let me know down below so that I know to keep adding it to these guides. If you haven't seen my other map guides, there'll be a link on screen at the end of the video, so make sure to go and check those out too. Also, if you did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like down below. It really helps me get these videos out there a bit, and it lets me know that you guys are keen to see more. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.